Welcome, visitors. It is I, lost in the spook pipe. It is All Hallows Eve, and I would like to take you all on a journey as we enter the world of Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia seemingly came completely out of nowhere, is still in early access, and quickly became a bit of a Twitch darling. At one point it seemed everyone was playing it. In fact, most still are, along with the likes of Fall Guys and Among Us. But is it actually any good? Or just another in a long line of generic horrors that get 5 minutes of YouTuber or Twitch fame? Well, since it's Halloween, I thought it was the perfect time to find out. So, let's get to it, shall we? The premise of the game is relatively simple. You and your friends are ghost hunters. Well, more profilers. Don't get carried away, you are not the Ghostbusters. You've no real means to combat the spooks you'll encounter. In fact, if you actually read the in-game mission brief, you'll notice that you're just the mooks they send in to determine the type of ghost before the cool people go in to get rid of it. Graphically, it's pretty good in most areas actually. However, player models are passable at best, with some naff textures on the faces, such as the stubble. It's hardly a deal breaker. However, ghost models are much better. Let's just say I didn't really want to see these things up close because they were rather nightmarish in the right light. The environments, coupled with the lighting engine, really do shine though. Some areas looked cold. It all feels wonderfully oppressive. Even when you turn on the lights, you still don't feel particularly safe, and sometimes areas are made creepier for it. There's unfortunately a fair amount of clipping at the moment, so you'll see body parts through some doors and objects, and no, I don't mean the ghosts, I mean the players themselves. If it wasn't for the atmosphere, it would immediately take you out of the experience. For example, when streaming on Twitch, one of us was killed and, well, this happened. Get out. Oh my god, it's right there. Open the door. Let's get out. Let's get out. We'll go. Go. We lost 2 people. Notice how we only laughed after we left the house. That's important as it shows that despite the funny visual, we didn't even register it until we'd left because the situation was rather tense. Anyway, before I go on another tangent, the graphics are decent and do the job to set a wonderfully creepy atmosphere with great looking locations and ghosts, which are only enhanced by in a spooky horror game such as this, graphics can be important, but I'd argue that the sound design is as important, if not more so. It goes a long way to help form the atmosphere. All of the small details such as creaking floorboards, the low hum of the haunted building, even the sound of your equipment and your team's footsteps can put you on edge. And then, well, there's the sound the ghosts make themselves. It's horrible in all the right ways. The loud, thumping sound of their approach can instill instant fear into the player. The sound of their breath behind you, or sometimes even in your ear, just puts my hairs on end thinking about it. And I haven't even talked about their voice. Well, sort of their voice. If the ghost responds to you via the spirit box, the response is calm and monotone, and somehow that's so much creepier than if an actor put on a quote-unquote scary voice. But one of my favourite aspects of the sound design, there's no large and obnoxious orchestral stings. Thank fuck for that. You know what I mean, when a game, film or TV show tells you to be scared, and you just become more afraid of a sudden loud noise emitting from the soundtrack instead of what's happening visually. Which, for me personally, can completely ruin horror, and I end up getting more annoyed than scared. Anyway, the sound design is effective and complements the game wonderfully, with great ghostly sound effects that range from the creature thumping around looking for you, or breathing and letting out a death rattle into your ear when it's found you. But how does it play? The The game can be tackled on your own or in a group of up to 3 other players. While the smaller environments can be finished on your own, it's essential to have at least one other person for the larger maps. You can either set up a public game that allows anyone to join, or private games that need a code to gain access. Also, no matter who started the server/room, the game will randomise who gets to choose the next job, and when it's your turn, you can pick a particularly nasty one, despite the cries of despair from your colleagues. Now, jobs mostly seem to play out in a sort of 3-act structure. The first involves the team's initial venture into the house and their locating of the main area the ghost predominantly haunts. The second sees the team heading back to the van and equipping tools to help gather further evidence. And the third and final act, the most dangerous act, can see the group attempting to determine what ghost they're dealing with and potentially evading the ghost as it becomes increasingly irritated by your presence before turning violent and hunting you. But if the group successfully returns, you can determine the ghost and leave, safe for now. And when I say the ghost hunts you, I mean it hunts you. You'll get a visual cue that this is happening when your flashlight starts to flicker, and then you better find a room to hide, turn that light off, and be very, very quiet, and don't even think of heading for the exit, because during the hunt, this thing will close and lock all of the exits. If you're lucky, it won't be able to find you and bugger off. If you're not so lucky, it'll find and kill one of your friends, or more importantly, you. You can somewhat defend yourself in these situations, using either a crucifix or smudge sticks, the latter which you can light up and cleanse a room with. In fact, there have been times when a ghost has appeared, is staring at a team member, and I've just sprinted towards it, screaming and waving a smudge stick around. But be warned, these don't always work, so don't get carried away. Also, the ghost can set traps for you, so be careful.
Don't think we open this door.
The light's on.
I don't remember putting the light on. Oh!
If and when you die, you're not completely out of the game. You can slowly wander the spectral halls as a ghost yourself. There's not much to this yet, but Kinetic Games is thinking of implementing some mechanics for ghost players to mess around with. A good tactic is actually staying behind in the van on larger maps. From here, you can monitor the team by tracking them on the map displayed inside, whilst also getting visuals of them via the building's security cameras and any head-mounted cameras they have equipped. This, as well as the activity sensor, allows you to keep the team as safe as possible, warning them of any activity spikes, whether the ghost is messing with the lights in a certain location, or even if you've seen it wandering the halls. It kinda made me feel a bit like Ellen Ripley when the Marines venture under the atmosphere processing station, switching between their individual views and trying to help them escape. It's great stuff. Unfortunately, you do move relatively slow, as though your character is trying to make as little noise as possible, which, well, does make sense actually. I think I'd do the same, honestly. There's no sprinting, running, or even light jogging. Sure, there is a run button, but holding down shift only makes you walk slightly faster. Now, I like and dislike this, sort of. Hear me out. On one hand, if that were me and a ghost had just been hunting me and killed one of my friends, I'd be running out of that building like my arse was on fire. But, as others in my stream chat have pointed out, it could remove some tension if you could just run away from the spook very quickly. It's all about balance, and honestly, taking everything into consideration, the movement speed is, I'd say, balanced okay. Right, let's talk about money. That's right, the amount you're paid. Now, I absolutely understand why you earn the amount of money you earn from a gameplay perspective, but I was thinking about it from an in-universe perspective. You are a ghost hunter / investigator thing. You are sent into hostile environments, coming up against ethereal bastards that you cannot fight against. Bastards that can and will kill you given the chance. Your role in this will make the offensive group's job easier, but could also save lives. And your payment is $10. $10. Well, jokes aside, there are other methods to gain more funds. There are 4 objectives in total in each mission, with discovering the type of ghost always at number 1. The others are randomized and can consist of things such as taking a photo of dirty sink water, detecting the ghost using a motion sensor, witnessing a ghostly event, taking a photo of the ghost, etc, and so on. You can also gain more cash by taking photos of evidence and any bones you find. Kinda sounds weird when you say it out loud. You do get more money once you unlock higher difficulties. Off this video's recording, there's not yet the ability to manually change the difficulty of the location you wish to visit. It's randomized, unfortunately. The 2 additional job difficulties are intermediate and professional, the latter of which is where the big money is. as both have a bonus multiplier dependent on the difficulty. Be careful though, on intermediate you only have 2 minutes before the ghost becomes more active, but on professional, not only is there no timer, but when the ghost hunts, well, let's just say it lasts a lot longer and it can get violent much quicker. Don't go splurging all of that cash immediately, spend smart and don't just buy for the sake of it, because if and when the ghost kills you, all of the equipment you brought with you is gone. There are lots of different items you can purchase as you progress through the game, but my personal favourite item to use is still the spirit box, which allows you to ask questions to the ghostly resident. Now, this doesn't always work, but sometimes you get some great results, like when it demands you to leave before telling you to die. Ghosts aren't always aggressive. Well, sometimes they're not aggressive. I've had a few experiences with ghosts with less, shall we say, murderous intentions. For example, there was a time when a ghost had locked us in, and we asked it nicely to open the door, and it did so, before we proceeded to scarper out of the building. Don't try to open the door. Wait. Can you open the door?
Ooh, guys.
Oh.
It's unlocked. It's unlocked the door for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Another time we had a child ghost that just seemed content to play with its toys, even when we kept calling out its name. If you can, do not use Discord for voice chat, as the game has two forms of this. Locational voice chat, meaning the further you get away from each other, the less you'll be able to hear one another. And radio chat, which uses the B key. With this, you'll still be able to communicate with each other via walkie-talkie. The game does have VR support, but unfortunately, I only have PlayStation VR. But the Jolly Norscan does have VR for PC. So, well, I didn't have to suffer like he did. But, you know, I'm certain he had fun. There's a haunt going on.
What?
Dan, be absolutely quiet. Dan?
Right,
Dan?
fucking right on.
Dan, are you in here?
I can see his arm.
I've also been told by another friend that it's so immersive in VR that he couldn't even bring himself to walk into the house. For a game that's still in its early access phase of development, I'm having an absolute blast. It's some of the most fun I've had in a co-op horror game in, well, it's a good point actually. Even taking the horror aspect out of it, it's still the most fun I've had cooperatively in a new title for quite some time. Multiplayer horror is so very difficult to get right. When you have multiple people, the atmosphere and terror can evaporate. But Phasmophobia absolutely nails it. And it nails the atmosphere. Sure, you might feel a bit calmer traversing the environment with your friends, but you're still borderline defenseless most of the time, and when one of them is killed, the panic sets back in, and all you want to do is just hurry back to the van for safety. It's wonderfully immersive. There are a few niggling issues for sure, but it's still in early access, and Kinetic Games is seemingly made up of one person, which is incredible when you consider how well the game currently plays. The slight issues are in no way game-breaking either, and are more nitpicky than anything. Plus, if you check out the developer blog, you'll see just how much is planned for future versions. But in its current state, Phasmophobia already brings enough scares and investigatory elements to keep you occupied for hours, and it's only going to get better. If you're at all a fan of horror, then you owe it to yourself to pick this up. It's only currently £11 on Steam, and considering how many hours I've put into it, I'd say it's more than worth the price. Whether you're tentatively opening bedroom doors in a large home, or wandering the haunted halls of an asylum with your friends, you're guaranteed to have an absolute blast. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go and set up some motion sensors. Davis.
Shall we go and find the angry?
Oh my god!
Oh,
10, 10, 10, 10.
I'm in the house alone. This is really unhappy. 10.
Stop.
Open the door with an axe, please.
Go. Just find someone to hide to be quiet. Everyone be quiet. Okay.
Oh, hands! Hands! Oh, I don't like these hands! Ah!
Doors open.
Hello, zombies, ghouls, and G-Mutants. I hope you enjoyed our time within the haunted halls of Phasmophobia. What did you think of the horrors we faced? Write down your thoughts below and let us know. And, as always, stay ghoulish, and I'll see you later.